Hello neighbor, you are now watching Prophetic News in Focus. In current times, the world is witnessing first-hand dramatic accounts of Bible prophecy being fulfilled at an alarming rate, bringing the return of Jesus Christ nearer every day. This week, Prophetic News in Focus presents a prophecy update. In today's broadcast, we will explore the scriptural passages that reveal these truths to a searching generation. Welcome to another broadcast of Prophetic News in Focus. In this week's headlines,
Isel has been downgraded from a hurricane to a tropical storm. It has already knocked out power on parts of Hawaii's Big Island. The Israeli military says it has resumed strikes on targets across Gaza in response to rocket fire from the territory that was aimed at Israel. The new round of fighting came after a 3-day truce expired this morning. The World Health Organization has declared the Ebola outbreak in West Africa to be an international public health emergency that requires an extraordinary response to stop its spread. President Barack Obama has authorized U.S. airstrikes in northern Iraq if Islamic State militants advance on American troops in the U.S. consulate there.
the drama of the ages that is currently taking place before our very eyes is moving us towards a tremendous climax, and the script for what is happening and will happen on the world stage is contained within the pages of God's Word, the Bible.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows.
ISIL's campaign of terror against the innocent, including the Yazidi and Christian minorities, and its grotesque, targeted acts of violence show all the warning signs of genocide. For anyone who needed a wake-up call, this is it. ISIL is not fighting on behalf of Sunnis. ISIL is not fighting for a stronger Iraq. ISIL is fighting to divide and destroy Iraq, and it's fighting to create a state of its own brutal oppression, a place where chaos and brutality, ruthless brutality, governs.
They've left their homes and are fleeing for their lives from the militant Islamic State. These Christians are some of the tens of thousands of Iraqis who don't follow Islam, who've been threatened with death by the militant fighters if they don't abandon their faith. They're originally from Mosul, but the militants seized that area back in June, so they fled to the nearby Kurdish capital Arbil, where they were protected by Peshmerga fighters. But the Kurdish forces trying to resist the Islamists are now in retreat, so they've come here to Baghdad, sleeping outdoors for days. They say they can't run anymore.
We've been in camps for 3 months now. The attack took place at 12 o'clock and we came on foot to Kazir checkpoint, and then this vehicle brought us here. We've stopped here because there is nowhere to go. There's no place to go and no money to rent a house. We have nothing. My children and I have nothing.
The militants have stormed across much of northern Iraq, seizing more and more land, redrawing the regional border. The UN Security Council has strongly condemned the latest attacks.
The members of the Security Council call on the international community to support the government and people of Iraq and to do all it can to help alleviate the suffering of the population affected by the current conflict in Iraq.
The desperate situation of minority groups in Iraq could prompt US military intervention, but for these Christians, help couldn't come soon enough.
Good evening. Today I authorized 2 operations in Iraq. targeted airstrikes to protect our American personnel, and a humanitarian effort to help save thousands of Iraqi civilians who are trapped on a mountain without food and water and facing almost certain death. Let me explain the actions we're taking and why. First, I said in June, as the terrorist group ISIL began an advance across Iraq, that the United States would be prepared to take targeted military action in Iraq if and when we determined that the situation required it. In recent days, these terrorists have continued to move across Iraq and have neared the city of Erbil, where American diplomats and civilians serve at our consulate and American military personnel advise Iraqi forces. To stop the advance on Erbil, I've directed our military to take targeted strikes against ISIL terrorist convoys should they move toward the city. We intend to stay vigilant and take action if these terrorist forces threaten our personnel or facilities anywhere in Iraq, including our consulate in Erbil and our embassy in Baghdad.
Iraq's largest Christian city now seized by ISIS militants. Tens of thousands of Christians are now fleeing for their lives. Our Nick Robertson is live in London this morning with more. Nick.
Yeah, Michaela, Karkush, this city just west of Erbil, the big stronghold of the Kurdish, in the Kurdish region there. That town now under attack by ISIS. All the Christians from it pouring out of there, moving towards the Kurdish area, looking for sanctuary there. What is significant about this is that area has been under protection, if you will, of the Kurdish Peshmerga forces. It's right next to the Kurdish autonomous region. And what makes it significant is that the Kurdish forces have now pulled back. Until now, they've been sort of seen as the last bulwark against the Islamic State fighters as they've swept across the north of Iraq and consolidated their control over territory there. Now it seems that they are falling back, and the Christians from that town are being forced to flee. It's causing widespread panic in the town of Erbil. People there concerned about whether they need to leave that city, which is now only about 30 kilometers, about 20 or so miles away from the front line. So increasing concern about the plight of those Christians, and of course the Yazidi community forced out of their homes into the mountains, desperate for food and water. That happened over the weekend, Michaela.
All Christians there fled. A few old women are still there because they were unable to leave.
They seized our house. So where can we live? 12 people were living in the house. We want to leave the country because we live in humiliation.
Now all Kurdistan's doors are open. Now we're inside St. Joseph's in order to manage the refugee situation with the collaboration of bishops and priests. We're preparing a place for them, and we're dealing with NGOs who are based in the village of Ankawa.
We do whatever is necessary to protect our people.
This morning, U.S. forces at the ready. President Obama authorizing targeted airstrikes to protect American personnel in Erbil, the capital of the Kurdish region, now threatened by ISIS militants.
We intend to stay vigilant and take action. These terrorists have continued to move across Iraq and have neared the city of Erbil, where American diplomats and civilians serve at our consulate and American military personnel advise Iraqi forces.
Overnight, a humanitarian aid drop was already made atop a mountain near Sinjar, where thousands of Yazidis, a religious minority group, have fled to escape a massacre by ISIS. Actions which Obama says could constitute genocide.
And these terrorists have been especially barbaric towards religious minorities. These innocent families are faced with a horrible choice: descend the mountain and be slaughtered, or stay and slowly die of thirst and hunger.
3 Air Force cargo planes escorted by 2 fighter jets supplied over 70 bundles of critical aid, including thousands of gallons of water and food. A race to stop catastrophe after 40 children have reportedly already died from thirst. The president also authorizing more targeted airstrikes to help Iraqi forces as they attempt to break the mountain siege.
Today, America is coming to help.
ISIS also targeting Christians and attacking in areas around Nineveh province, Iraq's Christian area overrun by militants, forcing thousands of Christians to flee. ISIS fighters posing this ultimatum to Iraqis: convert to Islam or die. A reign of terror continues as ISIS gains control and takes over key parts of the country, including Iraq's largest dam, according to the militants, a key source of electricity and water.
The Yazidis, other minorities are being threatened with what the president, the Secretary of State called genocide. What's it like where you are, Ivan?
Well, we've moved across the street from the church, Wolf, and now we're in an unfinished building, basically a construction site, where some of the displaced Iraqi Christians have taken shelter. We've seen scenes like this in other parts of Erbil as well. All of the people we talked to, they basically fled their towns and villages after the Peshmerga pulled out, the Kurdish militia pulled out Wednesday night and triggered a mass panic and sent just a wave of humanity, an exodus of people fleeing towards Kurdistan and towards Erbil and the other Kurdish city of Duhok, which have become basically safe havens, but not that safe because Erbil's only about 30 miles away from the front lines where ISIS is operating. It is quite close. Kurdish leaders are telling me they are encouraged, they are grateful that the U.S. has brought air power to protect them. They were pretty worried about ISIS's fast advance. As one Kurdish official told me, the Mosul Dam, it's a very strategic location that he confirmed to me was captured by ISIS within the last 2 days. He says that the ISIS militants used Abrams tanks, which are weapons in the U.S. military arsenal, which were weapons in the Iraqi army's arsenal, captured by ISIS and now employed by on the battlefield, and part of why the Kurdish Peshmerga have been pushed back. Now, I met a young man, this is 22-year-old Andros, who you fled your house 2 days ago. Can you tell me what was the scene like when you ran away?
I don't know, I'm just too scared. There was 1,000 car.
Okay.
Sorry. 1,000 car, and my father drove the car for 6 hours. 6 hours, 3 hours in the dust and 3 hours on the road. When we were in the dust, we couldn't see anything. Just cars are running away. We didn't know where we are going. So I don't know.
And you were running from ISIS, from the Islamic State.
Yeah, Islamic State. Those people are not people; they are monsters. And even not monsters. Monsters are better.
Do you think you can ever go home?
I don't think so.
That's it? You think it's finished?
No, it's finished.
The American Air Force has started bombing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. You just told me. I don't know. Really.
Could it help?
I'm not a military. I don't know.
You sound pretty hopeless right now.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe they can reach our build, so we're gonna be safe here. Maybe.
What would you like to tell people around the world about this situation you're in right now?
I just don't know, really. So too angry, too scared. They took our home, our money, everything. Just really don't know. I'm nervous. I can't tell you a lot.
Oh. Okay. Sorry. Wolf, so that's Andros. He's a 22-year-old university student studying English. Clearly a very difficult and frightening situation. Everybody, thank you, Andros. Everybody has told us that they left just with the clothes on their backs. So they've showed up here in the Kurdistan region. There are ad hoc efforts to feed people, to give them water. As you can see, the shelter, completely rudimentary. The Kurdish authorities say that more than 500,000 people have fled to the northwestern Duhok region. more than 500,000 people, and that the governor of Erbil says about 300,000 people have fled to the Erbil region. So this is an enormous burden on the Kurdish authorities, who are waging a battle very close by against the ISIS militants. So it is a tense situation. We're going to take you across the street to see more of the displaced people. And as you heard from that young man, nobody has a plan right now. Nobody knows what they're going to do.